Howdy AdWords fans and welcome back. Now that we're done talking about locations and advanced location settings, let's talk about languages. And luckily, there's not that much to talk about. There are no slides for languages. It's very straightforward. Google's going to give you the default language of the country that you selected when creating your account. So for me, you see we have English as our default language, which essentially tells Google that the core group of people who should be seeing my ads, my audience, speak English. Now, say I'm advertising in France, and I know that a lot of people in France who go to google.com and they do searches in English, they might have their browser preferences, their browser language set to French. If that's the case, then I might want to go ahead and select French, right? So I'll go down here and I'll select French. That does not mean, and this is some of the confusion that some students have, Google will not be translating my ads. Whatever language I write my ads in is the language that they're going to appear in. There's no such thing as Google translating your ads for you. What this is saying is that I'm okay with people who identify as French-speaking people based on their browser settings, based on their browsing history. I'm okay with them seeing my English ads or whatever the ads that I write, whatever language I write them in. So straightforward, I'm going to leave it defaulted as English. Most of you are going to leave it at the default, but you could always change it around if you so choose. There's no way to close this dialog box. You just have to leave it open once you click edit. The next major area we're going to get into is bidding strategy. We're going to talk a lot more about bidding strategy in more detail in the next lecture and possibly the next couple lectures, depending how long it takes to get through the slides. But just as a basic overview, every single keyword, every single time someone does a search on Google represents a new auction for advertisers. It's all based on the auction, and I'm going to keep on drilling this concept of auction into your head as the course progresses. You have to view every search as an auction. An opportunity to win that auction means that you get your ad shown, you get an impression. There are different ways you could bid in an auction. For example, in a live auction, if you go to a car auction or an art auction in person, there's really one way to bid, right? You raise your hand and you call a number, or you raise your hand and it's a silent auction. There are different auction models. It might be a second price auction. There might be minimum increments, but their basic structure of bidding is all the same. That's not the case with Google AdWords. With Google AdWords, if you open up this drop down under your bidding method, your bidding strategy, there are a lot of different options. You have manual bidding and you have a number of different ways you could automate the bids. Manual bidding is the most similar to going to a real auction. You're raising your hand and saying, this is what I'm willing to pay for a click on this keyword. This is the most I am willing to pay for a click on this keyword. Every single time there's an auction, you have the ability to control the maximum you're willing to pay for that click. This is the type of bidding I recommend you begin with. Manual CPC bidding gives you the most control and it gives you the most abilities to really learn how the auction works. And we're going to talk about the pros and cons of manual bidding as well. However, where this differentiates from an actual live auction is the fact that this is all done via computers, very powerful computers. And Google has built algorithms, Google has built equations that could automate our bidding. And those represent different bidding strategies. The reason why we might sometimes want to use automated bidding strategy is because how much we pay for a click is not really what matters to us. And think about this. If you're going to an art auction or a car auction, you know how much you want to pay because what you're buying is the car. The end goal, what you're attempting to receive, is the item you're bidding on. It's very, very different when it comes to AdWords. You don't care about how much you pay for the click sometimes. You're not buying the click. You're not buying the keyword home. That's not inherently valuable. What's inherently valuable is that traffic that you're going to get to your website, and if that traffic results in some sort of marketing objective. So the automated bidding strategies basically say, I'm not so interested in how much I pay for every individual click. I'm more interested in what results from those clicks, what type of revenue I get, what type of return on ad spend I get, what type of cost per conversion I get. If I take traffic away from my competition, that's valuable to me. So automated bidding strategies, and we're going to go into each one of these individual ones in the next lectures and talk about the pros and cons and talk about when we might use them and how they actually work and how to set them up. But just conceptually, I want you to realize that manual bidding is very similar to that live auction where you say, I don't want to pay more than X. I don't want to pay more than $3.50 per click, period. But where automated bidding strategies come in says, really, if you think about it, it's not really about the cost per click. It's not really about the cost of that keyword. That's not what's valuable to me as an advertiser. That's not what's valuable to me as a business owner. What's valuable to me is my return on ad spend, is how much traffic I get, is what that traffic does. These other different objectives. And each one of these automated bidding strategies has a different objective attached to it that might be important to you as an advertiser. And we'll talk about those. But I wanted to go over that as a conceptual idea first. It's no surprise that Google's default is automated strategy, maximized clicks. Once again, that's another way that you're going to get to spend a lot more money. I hardly ever recommend our clients use this bidding strategy. I'm not saying that there's no place for it, but this is probably the worst bidding strategy you could possibly use. And it would be the last one to test or to try out of all of them. But lo and behold, Google gives you that one as the default. So it's a good thing that you're all here watching the course, learning about why that would be a mistake, and you're going to be able to save yourself a lot of money and get better results from your campaigns. So let's regroup in the very next section. We'll throw up the slides and we will get into more detail about each individual one of these bidding strategies. And I look forward to seeing you guys soon in a few seconds in the next chapter.